Hello and welcome to News Now. I am Fidelia Agoncha. The Nigerian Labour Congress is holding a nationwide protest to push home their demand for the implementation of a new national minimum wage. The new wave of protest comes less than 2 months after a previous one which culminated into a strike action and an eventual proposal of a new 30,000 naira minimum wage. In Lagos, the protesters marched to the government house in Ikeja to express their displeasure in the continued delay in transmitting the bill. This next report captures the rest of the story. Armed with placards and banners with various inscriptions, these members of the organized labor have gathered here in Lagos, Nigeria, to demand for improved remuneration for workers in the country. Led by labor leaders, the protesters, numbering over 100, marched from Maryland to the state government house in Alausa to deliver a letter to the governor.
If you can recap, earlier before this time around late last year, we went on morning protests like this to demand for the passage of 30,000 minimum wage, the negotiated one, within the negotiating team. And it has been passed to the president, and the president has given his consent. But we gave directive and also gave an ultimatum which expired December 31st, that the president should pass this bill, transmit this bill to the National Assembly in order to pass it into law. So we have now talk of implementation. But till now, their ultimatum has expired, nobody is talking, and they are only thinking of setting up another technical committee of no essence.
30,000 naira is not too much. If a councillor in Nigeria, a councillor in Lagos, is earning the same salary with the councillor in Taraba State, so, and even the people in the House of Assembly, in the House of Senate, they are not ready to cut down their own allowances and everything. Just 30,000 naira for a common worker, which is not even up to 1,000 naira a day. So even what is 1,000 naira a day with this present situation in the country?
Pre-2011 salary increase, it was agreed that every 5 years the salary will be reviewed. We are now in 2019. The salary has not been reviewed up to this moment. When you look at the inflationary trends, you look at what the purchasing power now, you cannot compare it to what we have in 2011. When you look at the exchange rate, as at 2011, I think it's around the 160, 170 naira to the dollar. But it's about 370, 380, at times 400 as it fluctuates in the market. So it has affected the purchasing power.
At their arrival, the protesters are prevented from entering the secretariat by security officials who barricade the gates. The special aide to the governor later comes out to address the crowd, but is booed by labor leaders who demand for the governor.
These are organized labor and civil society organizations. We are here to make a presentation to the Excellency. We will not allow to be stopped by this barricade. So we have to go in. So give us the time you are going to open this place for us to access here. We are not going to listen. Excuse me. We are not going to listen to any interactions here. Just give us the time, then we can move in.
After being locked out for a while, the protesters are allowed into the premises where they were addressed by their leaders.
We have just a message. One is to hand over this letter to His Excellency, Governor Ambodi, and two, to also charge him that as far as the issue of minimum wage is concerned in Nigeria, organized labor has resolved. While we are pleading with him to talk to his people, to his colleagues, governors, need for them to see reasons why 30,000 naira minimum wage must be paid.
The leaders then delivered their letter through the governor's aide, who again receives a hostile reception from the crowd.
On behalf of His Excellency, governor of Lagos State. I am saying whatever feelings you may have concerning the state government is a matter of understanding. We want you to understand the situation on ground. There is no previous information that you people are coming. Whenever you people wanted to demonstrate in a peaceful way, the way you have been coming now, there's always be an information that there will be a demonstration. Usually, the governor, I know, if there is a letter like that they should go, that they want him to assist them, he normally ask me or by himself direct the letter to where it's supposed to go. There's a letter that sent to his to the president of the nation. The letter was given to the president by his Excellency.
With the general election just months away, the National Organized Labour are insisting that the 30,000 naira minimum wage is not negotiable. They have gone a step further to say that they are likely to boycott the election if the government does not pass the minimum wage bill to the National Assembly for approval. Fidelia Aguncha, TV360, Nigeria. Well, the labor unions have also been protesting in Abuja. They were led by the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Ayuba Waba, and even lawmakers, including Kaduna State Senator Shehu Sani. Tunji Oye has the rest of that story.
Although negotiation is still on between the federal government and the Nigeria Labour Congress on the new minimum wage, Labour Union is not leaving anything to chance. While discussions are still on, NLC decided to embark on this rally to inform government that Labour is not ready to back down on the 30,000 minimum wage.
The level of poverty in Nigeria is high. Crisis all over the country. You can see the attendant problem that is associated with poverty. If we increase the minimum wage, we are empowering the majority of Nigerians. We are also addressing a social, economic, and political problem.
Our position is that the negotiation has been concluded and a figure has been arrived at. No other party, no employer can now unilaterally try to change that scenario. In fact, the point we are is the point of implementation. The point of enactment of the law and implementation at all levels. And therefore, this is where we are. And therefore, this is not, today's occasion is not a strike. It's actually a protest to every government house. As I speak to you in every state, our workers are on the same page. They are also visiting the government house of every state.
Just some hours ago, Labour and the federal government were on the negotiation table. And this rally may be a signal that workers are ready to go all the way to ensure that their demands are met.
We don't trust the government because they say something and do another thing. This is not supposed to have taken us this far. The tripartite committee had concluded its work. All the federal government need to do is just transmit this thing to the National Assembly for passage into law. Technical committee or non-technical committee is not an issue. So we don't trust the government, honestly.
How can we believe governments when the politicians go with Ghana must go every now and then? How can we believe them? With fleets of cars that they are using, the convoy, that you expect us to believe them? 18,000 minimum wage. Is it really a wage? Can it take anybody to his house or house? You take salary today, it cannot even take you to the gates of your office. So you expect us to sit down and fold our hands without doing anything? Election is coming February, and they expect us to still come out to vote for them when they are not doing what they are supposed to do?
Many people in the position of power, I have not excluded myself, are living luxuriously. And Nigeria's workers are suffering. How can anybody defend a government that will term itself as progressive to hesitate by not increasing the money to 30,000? Politicians are comfortably paying the fees of their children in Dubai, in United States, in UK, and wherever. Politicians travel for headache, for Qatar, for anything. Politicians are living luxuriously, buying properties and shares banks in telecommunication companies and in so many places. So why should simply an increase in wages become a problem? But one thing I know very well is that President Buhari knows it, that his credibility, his legitimacy, and his moral standing and uprightness is dependent on him being able to accede to demands of labor.
The demands are clear and the message is also clear. For now, the waiting game continues between the government and labor. From Abuja, Sunji Oye, TV360 News.
Well, the federal government has now reached an agreement with the labor union that the bill will be presented to the National Assembly on January 23, 2019. And another major issue crippling the labor sector is the ongoing strike by university lecturers. But that now seems to be one step closer to being resolved after the government and the striking lecturers announced an agreement has been reached. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, says President Muhammadu Buhari has released 15.4 billion naira to cover the shortfalls in public universities. He also says the president has approved 20 billion naira for settling outstanding arrears due to universities from 2009 to 2012.
The 20 billion on end allowances is a portion of an aggregate amount of about 100 and something billion, 105 billion. The government would have wanted to pay off on a 100% basis, but because we can afford it, education and finance and the others put together, and we offered that. And the remaining will now be paid in tranches. We pay in tranches. Then on revitalization, a committee was set up to find how we can get the revenue. But what other sources? Because the budget cannot carry it.
Well, leader of the striking union, Biodun Ogunyemi, says they will meet and decide if the concession by the government is enough to call off the strike. The final decision of the striking lecturers will be communicated to the public after the said meeting expected for Thursday. The Nigerian Air Force has buried officers killed in a plane crash in Borno State. The 5 Air Force officers, which include 2 pilots, Flight Lieutenant Perway Jacob and Flight Lieutenant Kautu Kilyofas, as well as 3 other crew members who are Sergeant Awal Ibrahim, Lance Corporal Adamu Nura, and aircraftman Mishak Ishmael, were killed in an air crash on their way back from an anti-insurgency operation. They have now been buried in a military ceremony in Abuja. Adeshewa Dushaga has the rest of the story.
It is an atmosphere filled with sorrow and grief as the late Air Force officers are put in their final resting place. They were given full military honors, including a gun salute and laying of wreath by top officials, including the Minister of Defense, Mansour Dan Ali, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, and also their families. The Air Chief then pays tribute to the late officers.
The loss of these courageous and professional gentlemen must spur the rest of us not only to rededicate ourselves in the service of our nation, but we must also resolve to expose and fight all agents of destabilization and extremism in our society. We must throw in everything we have to this fight to ensure that our departed colleagues did not die in vain. All Nigerians need to know that this fight is a national struggle. It's not a fight by the military alone. It's a national struggle to free ourselves and protect those values we hold very dear to our hearts. The values of freedom, the right to life, and the right to pursuit of happiness. To bring the ongoing, we must therefore put all hands together to bring the ongoing insurgency in the Northeast to an end that is favorable to our nation.
The Nigerian Air Force is always pledged to continue supporting ground troops in the battle against Boko Haram in the Northeast. Victory over the insurgents will be a fitting tribute to these officers and many others who have lost their lives in the anti-insurgency operations. Adishawa Odushaga, TV360 Nigeria.
President Muhammadu Buhari has met with some delegation from Borno State in a bid to combat insurgency in the northeast. The president at the meeting restated his administration's unwavering determination to equip the military. He also told the delegation led by Governor Kashim Shettima of Borno State that the collective safety and security of civilians would continue to remain paramount in the administration's strategy to restore peace and stability in the region. Onya Adekunle has the rest of that story.
For the past 9 years, Nigeria's northeastern Borno State has been battling Boko Haram insurgents, and despite the heavy presence of military personnel and the launch of various military operations, the insurgency has continued to persist. At this meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari, the state governor Kashim Shettima recounts the most difficult spell and efforts to curtail the insurgency.
Borno State suffered its worst times between 2013 and 2014. In that period, Boko Haram abducted our children, attacked and took firm control of 20 out of the 27 local government areas of Borno. In these 20 local government areas, they established caliphates and put in place sovereign administrators who strictly impose tax systems and violent laws. They abuse our young daughters. They force young men to join their fighters. They turn all men and women into domestic slaves, and they publicly executed parents in the presence of their own children and wives for allegedly offending laws that are even alien to the religion of Islam itself. While administering our 20 local government areas, Boko Haram operated from council secretariats in headquarters of local government areas and lived in palaces of traditional rulers, military barracks, and police stations. On the other hand, from 2015 to 2018, the Nigerian military, with you as Commander-in-Chief, was able to liberate all the 20 local government areas hitherto under Boko Haram sovereignty. With these successes, the Borno State government was able to rebuild more than 30,000 homes in various communities with all public facilities restored. With Mr. President's leadership, many of our hitherto displaced brothers and sisters, including some of our traditional rulers, voluntarily returned to rebuild communities in 14 local government areas, including Bama. Mr. President, I recollected all this for the sole purpose of establishing the irony in our visit today.
After the governor's speech, Buhari assures he's still committed to the development of the state and the northeast region.
Maybe this time we'll go back, we start from Gombe, where again gas has been discovered. So there was what they call Benue Trow and to Delta, all that feasibility studies, has been done, and the prospect is that there can be petroleum products, and that I believe will help to stabilize Nigeria. I'm very pleased you have decided to come and see me. I would have been extremely disappointed if you hadn't come. But now I feel at peace that I have regained my constituency in full. And of course, I know some of you personally. especially those who have been governors and in the top civil service. I know them and I know their records. So I very much appreciate this effort you have made in consolidating my support in a region I can claim as part of myself as a person.
The Borno State delegates are also led to the visit by Senate leader Ali Ndume. They tell State House reporters that President Buhari retains their support in the 2019 election.
These two elders said they are people that speak the truth. I'm sure that somebody like President Governor Goni, this is the first time he's stepping in here, I think for a very long time, 5, 6 or 7 years.
Yes.
Finally, God has helped us. And you know, God is always with the truthful. That these people have decided not only to leave PDP, but to declare their unflinching support to the second term of Mr. President. And I can assure you, for Borno, Northeast, and most of the states in Northeast, this is somehow the burial ceremony of PDP and Atiku's ambition in the Northeast. I can assure you that.
Buhari, who is seeking a second term in office, has promised to completely eradicate the insurgents if elected again. Oyin Adekunle, TV360, Nigeria.
Well, some members of the ruling All Progressives Congress, including current and past governors, have been expressing confidence in President Buhari's re-election bid in the February presidential election. They are giving their support to their candidate, assuring him of victory in their respective states.
There is newspaper noise, and there's the noise on the ground. As far as I know, in Oyo State, Mr. President will win Oyo State hands down over whoever. And who are the other candidates? Who are the opposition? Who are they?
Mr. President also has done a lot in terms of infrastructure and human capital development in Delta State and across the Niger Delta. The railway to Alaja is now functional, and of course they have started carrying passengers. The Escravos bar, which is being as of today, there's a lot of work going on the Escravos bar.
The future is very bright for the party. The prospects are very strong. Like my brothers pointed out, we have a lot to campaign with, from the social infrastructure, the SIP programs, like social intervention programs, to the infrastructure on ground. A lot has been achieved by this president, never done before. In the past, we had so much on recurring expenses, but today we are now seeing infrastructure on ground, like you mentioned, the railways, the roads, and other infrastructural programs of this administration. But over and above that, we have so much confidence in the integrity of Mr. President. And I think most of the campaigns in 2019 will be based on integrity. There is need for Nigeria to take its rightful place in the Committee of Nations and be respected.
Well, still to come is news in business after this break. Don't go away.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
Wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the go-to app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Well, let's now talk business. Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, has broken Nigeria's all-time revenue generation record after generating 5.3 trillion naira in 2018. In Nigeria, FIRS' highest revenue generation was previously recorded in 2012 when the agency generated 5.07 trillion naira. Tunde Fowler, FIRC chairman, who announced the 2018 record, said the cost of collection as a percentage of actual taxes collected has been reducing as the government is generating more at a time when oil prices are low. And to the stock market, for the fifth straight day, the Nigeria stock market closed in the negative territory with a 1.20% drop in key market indicators. The all-share index shed over 350 points to close at 30,036 basis points, while the market capitalization plunged by 137 billion naira to close at 11.200 trillion naira. The downturn was impacted by losses recorded in small, medium and large capitalized stocks with Forte Oil, Presco, Guarantee Trust Bank and Flour Mills Nigeria PLC taking the biggest hit and topping the losers chart. Meanwhile, on the flip side, Okumu Oil, Nigeria Brewers, WAPCO and Julius Berger leads the pack of gainers, appreciating by a combined 7 naira. But despite these gains, the market breadth closed negative with 29 losers and 12 gainers. While on the global chart, it was a good day for most investors as the FTSE, Dow Jones and Nikkei recorded gains in key market indicators, which saw the market close in the positive territory. And still to come on the foreign scene, a train collision in South Africa has left dozens injured. And in sports, there seems to be some good news for Victor Moses, who just might be making an exit from Chelsea. More details after this break. Don't go away.
Corruption not in my country.
It's about the files your secretary presented to me regarding the company's salary. Yes, the figures don't seem to add up. I suspect there's some form of a
discrepancy.
Precisely, sir.
Keep the figures that way.
That's fraudulent, sir.
That's my money.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't do that, sir.
See how padded your teeth are. Are you telling me you cannot pad up figures?
Sir, padding is against best auditing practices, and it's a form of corruption.
It's true. Accountant.
You were testing. Thank you, sir.
That's it. Marcoli.
Yes, sir.
You are fired.
Yeah. Fine, sir. Rather than watch corruption grow under my watch. Padding is a form of corruption and not in my country, sir.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Welcome back. At least 3 people were killed with hundreds injured after a 2-passenger train collided during the morning rush hour in South Africa's capital, Pretoria. While emergency spokesperson Charles Mabaso says 2 critically injured people were airlifted from the scene of the crash in Mountain View, northern Pretoria. When paramedics arrived on the scene, they found carriages from both trains tilting half off the track. A spokesperson for the ER24 emergency service says numerous passengers were found either in the trains, while others were found walking around on the scene. Cardiff City have joined the race to sign Chelsea wingback Victor Moses this winter. The retired Nigerian international has not made an appearance for Chelsea in their last 16 games across all competitions. Moses is expected to leave Stamford Bridge this month, having barely featured under coach Maurizio Sarri. Now, according to a report on English tabloid The Standard, Crystal Palace were believed to be favourite over buying him outright for a deal worth around £12 million, while Fulham have also been linked with a loan move for the 27-year-old winger. However, Palace have made signing a striker their priority at the moment, and Cardiff are hoping to capitalise by loaning him for the rest of the season. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, has announced Egypt as a new host for the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations tournament, which is expected to take place in June-July later this year. Egypt submitted their bid alongside South Africa to host the finals after the rights were taken away from Cameroon last year. CAF, who made their announcement on Tuesday morning, said Cameroon was not ready to host a successful and expanded 24-team tournament. Egypt received 16 votes to South Africa's 1 vote, and CAF confirmed at an executive meeting in Dakar that Egypt will host the tournament. And that is on News Now. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I am Fidalia Aguncha. Bye for now.